Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. Charlotte area breweries have become more than just a place to get a cold beer. They're networking spots, community supporters, and many offer families a place to socialize. There are now more than 250 breweries across our state. The craft beer boom has become an economic powerhouse with an annual impact of $1.2 billion and 10,000 jobs statewide. But the neighborhood hangouts are threatened by growing concerns of an international trade war. Carolina Impact's Sharon Smith tells us how that could cost everyone.
Hey, no defense.
Springtime in Charlotte means more patio time, more friendly cornhole competitions, more sips in the shade and under the sun.
It's awesome. Really nice.
At local craft breweries like Birdsong on North Davidson Street.
It's just really chill here, and like the bartenders are always super nice, and like they have some of my favorite beers on tap.
All good things managing partner Chris Goulet likes to hear.
This is your baby, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Behind each pour is a barrel from a batch crafted with care.
This is a session IPA, so we dry hop that with Amarillo and Idaho 7, which are two kind of smaller hop varieties.
Goulet is a beer enthusiast with a mind for business. In 2011, he left corporate banking to branch out on his own, and Birdsong was hatched, one of the Queen City originals.
All of a sudden, Charlotte went from not really too interested in local beer to like really excited about local beer. And you can see that with the number of breweries. I think we're just about to hit 20 for Charlotte City breweries, Charlotte proper.
Oh, wow.
40 plus once you start counting surrounding towns.
Their own story includes double or triple-digit growth every year and a sizable investment in tanks, kegs, and cans, all of which could cost more under new tariffs imposed by President Trump as part of a trade battle with China. 25% on imported steel, 10% on aluminum. That means each can, which costs about 15 cents now, will probably cost more next time.
We're gonna be close to maybe a little bit under 1 million cans this year. So, you know, if you're talking about a 10% increase, a penny and a half on 1 million cans adds up pretty fast.
Tariffs could tack on $15,000 to the cost of canning.
So that, you know, isn't the kind of cost that a small business can just kind of like brush under the carpet.
You have to pass it on somehow.
Right.
Customers will ultimately get stuck with the bill, which is why the North Carolina Craft Brewers Guild opposes tariffs, saying the spike will put a chill on one of the state's fastest growing industries. At South End's trendy wooden robot, expansion includes a new restaurant to complement what's on tap.
It just made more sense to have something that was in-house, and it also gives you the opportunity to step up your game as far as cuisine. And
Sales Director Mike Eide says the tariff on steel could affect their bottom line in a big way.
25% is a lot.
A potential cost jump when it comes to opening another location full of shiny new tanks.
If you walk back there, there's a lot of steel, a lot of metal. You know, even the coolers, you know, you walk in that cooler, it's just full of kegs.
Brewed in small batches, craft breweries help satisfy a thirst for something different.
As time's gone on, it's become even more uber local. So they start off more regional, then statewide, and then it was citywide, so that, you know, people wanted Charlotte beers.
Each new recipe is a nod to neighborhood flavor. It helps explain why craft brews are so popular. But still, local means lower volume, which also means less purchasing power to offset market spikes. Back at Birdsong, hundreds of freshly filled beer cans are ready to be sold. Taps flow as the happy hour crowd settles in.
We like it because they have great beer and it's reasonably priced.
Goulet says they can't control tariffs or their impact, so he's more focused on what can be done.
But we're always trying to figure out how do we stay competitive and how do we make sure that, like, the customer feels like they got, you know, the better part of the deal.
Even if their beer costs a little more. For Carolina Impact, I'm Sharon Smith reporting.
Thanks so much, Sharon. Craft brewers are also keeping tabs on a civil lawsuit filed against the state. 2 Charlotte breweries are seeking to change the beer distribution law, which currently caps how much product they can distribute without using a wholesaler. Well, you might be interested to know that a recent Gallup survey showed beer is the most popular alcoholic drink in the country. The rise in popularity of craft brewers is giving rise to a new hobby, home brewing. And Charlotte is quite the hub for home brewers. We have Jen Blair with us now, who is the president of Carolina Brewmasters. And Jen, you guys are one of the biggest organizations in the southeastern United States. Pretty impressive.
That's correct. We are one of the largest homebrew clubs in the southeastern United States. We currently have about 200 members within the Charlotte metro region.
And while we may just be hearing about this gaining popularity these days, but it's been around for a long time.
It has. It has. The Brewmasters have been around since about the late 80s. Homebrewing actually wasn't legalized until 1974. Before that, there was some homebrewing, but it's been growing ever since then.
How do folks get started?
The easiest way to get started is to visit one of the homebrew clubs such as ours or another homebrew club, just to talk to people about what's involved and have them sort of answer a lot of your preliminary questions. You can also find homebrewing kits that are available that will get you started with just the basics with some fairly simple procedures that you can do on your stovetop.
Is it expensive?
It can be expensive, but starting out, if you go for a kit, that would probably be around $100 to $150. The homebrew systems can go anywhere from there up to very sophisticated, completely electronic systems.
How long does it take to actually make the beer?
The beer itself on a brew day will typically take between 2 to 4 hours to make, and then it ferments for about 3 weeks. So all in, you have about 3 weeks from the time you make it until it's ready for you to enjoy.
And once it's ready to enjoy, is there a shelf life? How long will it last?
It depends on the style, but usually 3 to 4 months is a good rule of thumb to follow. If you're making a higher alcohol beer, you may want to let that age a little bit longer, much like you do with wine.
What are some common misconceptions about folks getting started in making their own beer?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's very complicated, and it's really not. You can certainly get into the numbers and the technicalities of it, but it's very simple to get started. Another misconception is that homebrew, a lot of people have experiences with the neighbor or the uncle who made homebrew, and they don't think that it can be very good. And the quality of ingredients and equipment that's available now to homebrewers means we have a lot of homebrewers making really excellent beer.
You give advice to folks. If people wanted to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
They can visit our website at carolinabrewmasters.com. They can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Jen Blair, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate your information so much.
Thank you.